what we all thought would happen, what seemed likely to happen, happened, which is that the United States bombed Iran in 3 different locations using the biggest weapons that the United States has other than nukes. Remember, there was discussion to possibly use a light nuke, and instead they use B-52 bombers, bunker buster bombers. They go deep in the ground and they are very destructive. And that happened on Saturday. And mind you, all of this, the preamble to this was that Donald Trump was negotiating a deal. He was negotiating an Iran deal with Iran. He was doing the same thing, that he's done with a bunch of policies, with Biden policies, with Obama policies. He'll just write his name over it because he didn't like that it had Obama's name on it. He wants to make a so-called better deal, but it's really just the same deal. Steve Witkoff was scheduled to meet, I think today, with Iranian leaders. They were talking about restarting negotiations, and I guess Netanyahu was the last one on the phone. And as we know, the Israeli lobby, in addition to Netanyahu, they like to make a lot of calls. They have been haranguing Congress people all through the weekend. And it seems like maybe they got their way because we all know the last person to talk to Donald Trump is the person who he listens to the most. And we also know that at the end of the day, Donald Trump, let's be real, just like Joe Biden, is a bitch for Bibi. That's it. He's a bitch. He rolled over. There's nothing about this that projects any kind of strength. You had your people in the Middle East. You could have been organizing, and you were organizing some kind of peace deal. And now you're like, oh no, we're going to bomb them. And now we want peace. And this is sort of the diverging pathways between likely what Israel wants and what Donald Trump says he wants. But again, what does he want other than a lukewarm fillet of fish and a round of golf? We don't know. My man just turned 79 in the biggest birthday flop we've ever seen, okay? Your squeaky ass tanks. He's sad. He's old. His diaper is full. All right? He doesn't want to be in the driver's seat. And you know who wants to be in the driver's seat? Israel. So we'll talk about exactly what happened. The U.S. apparently used about 125 military aircraft. We don't know the scale of the damage. Again, I don't want to say that, because it didn't look like a giant black hole. There's satellite imagery that, nothing was destroyed. No, a lot of the damage was done, obviously, underground. Who knows whether, nuclear facilities were removed from these sites ahead of time, 3 different sites that were bombed. And this has been sort of the line, right? The line from the Trump administration is we're just there to destroy nuclear capacities. Now, here's the deal. We all know in the preamble to all this also that Donald Trump openly said that the director of national intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, was incorrect. That basically she's not on our signal chats, okay? Even though she testified and even though she knows, and even though former Trump officials also testified that Iran was not developing a weapon, you're not on our signal chat, okay? We've got all the emojis on our signal chat. So Tulsi Gabbard gets sidelined. Mind you, this is Tulsi, Let's Stop Forever Wars Gabbard, who then was sort of left groveling and said, I never said Iran wasn't developing a nuclear weapon. I stand with Donald Trump because of course, I'm going to get left at the door. I'm not going to be in the room. I'm not even going to be within negotiations. I'm not on that signal chat, but I stand with my president because that's what it is. That's the way the Trump administration runs. It is a administration full of sycophants. And if they're not sycophants, they are opportunists. They go where the money is. They go where they're going to get the most cred and the most accolades. And that's exactly what Tulsi Gabbard traded any principles that she ever had. I am not of the school of thought that Tulsi was ever good. So it's like, what'd you trade it? No. She's also a raging Islamophobe. Let's put that in tally it over here on the number of Islamophobes that we'll talk about in a little bit. She hates forever wars, but she really also wants to rid the war in the Middle East of like so-called Muslim extremists, right? The question is it regime change, or is it what they're saying it is, which is the nuclear targeting of the nuclear sites, which again, don't have a weapon. Now, Trump and not Trump, sorry, the Trump administration is basically saying, no, it is absolutely just about going after the nuclear sites. What are you talking about? You're crazy. This is not regime change. This is not a forever war. We're just going to bomb them and nothing is going to happen. Well, something already did happen. And in response, Iran attacked the biggest U.S. military base in the Middle East, which is the Al Udeid Air Base in Qatar, which is incredibly upsetting to, well, number one, to Qataris, to a lot of the people in the region, in the Gulf, and probably to people working on that large military base. Thankfully, none of the missiles actually hit their target. They had missile defense systems, but nevertheless, that was the retaliation. That was the action. And yet, the attacks from Israel and the Iranian attacks on Israel, those continue. 400 people have been killed in Iran by Israeli missile strikes, 3,000 injured, and 24 people in Israel have died. Massive attacks in Haifa and other cities, right? So that's all continuing. So while Iran and Israel are trading missiles, right? Iran now has targeted not just military bases, but and obviously was the one that wanted the nuclear sites attacked because they don't have the bombs to do that. They also added bombing roads and airstrips and anything that leads up to either Iranian military facilities for their ability to retaliate or ability to access those nuclear sites after the fact, even to assess the damage. So that's what's been happening. As to what's the official line, it seems like the Trump administration and Donald Trump himself are a little bit out of step on this. Whereas the administration says, this is not, you guys are insane, okay? This is not about regime change. This is not another forever war. This is just in and out, quick. We're going to get rid of the nuclear capacity, and then they're going to enter into an agreement, and it'll be all hunky-dory. And yeah, well, you can bet your ass that is not what is going to happen. But let's take a listen to the smattering of little sycophants and what their line is, right? What they've been told to say.
So this mission was a very precise mission. It had three objectives, three nuclear sites. It was not attack on Iran. It was not an attack on the Iranian people. This wasn't a regime change move. This was designed to degrade and or destroy three nuclear sites related to their nuclear weaponization ambitions. So this mission was a very precise mission. It had three objectives, three nuclear sites. It was not attack on Iran. It was not an attack on the.
So that's Marco Rubio. Not attack on Iran. Not attack on the Iranian people. Our business is not with you. And like, you could definitely understand that. Like, imagine if, if Iran attacked American nuclear facilities, or attacked like our energy production, right? Because at this point, that's what Iran uses nuclear power for, is nuclear energy. And just imagine if they, wanted to attack a nuclear facility in Colorado or like an oil rig off the coast of Louisiana. And then they said, this is not about the American people. This is about, just your energy and like, your autonomy and stuff. We'd be like, that's so okay with us. No biggie. Cool. Oh, you just wanted to attack our energy supply? Dope. Yeah. I get it. You don't have a problem with me. Come on now. But I love that. I love the sort of like, oh, we don't, no, we don't. It's not what you think it is, okay? Me killing you is not actually your death. Here's JD Vance.
Our view has been very clear that we don't want a regime change. We do not want to protract this or build this out any more than it's already been built out. We want to end their nuclear program, and then we want to talk to the Iranians about a long-term settlement here. We believe very strongly that there are two pathways. There's a pathway where Iran continues to fund terrorism, continues to try to build a nuclear program, attacks American troops. That's the bad pathway for Iran, and it will be met with overwhelming force.
Okay, my guy, what? Okay, so what pathway do you think you just went down, homie? What pathway do you think you chose? Attacking our troops, funding, other organizations abroad, developing a nuclear weapon. What pathway do you think you forced Iran down? You forced them down that very pathway. I mean, I feel like we're having a who's on first discussion. I mean, again, the gaslighting, as I mentioned on Instagram recently, but the gaslighting is coming at us so much faster than it was in 2003 under Bush. It is so much less practiced and rehearsed. It is, again, Iraq with no lube. There is no foreplay in this. It is bam, 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 bam. And again, but again, it will be like the worst sex of your life and last forever, because that is exactly what an Iran quagmire will look like for the US. But this is him again saying, look, it's just so easy. It's going to be super, super easy. There's two paths. They just can choose a path.
Our view, groups, that's the bad pathway for Iran, and it will be met with overwhelming force. There's another pathway on the table here. There's a pathway where Iran integrates itself into the international community, stops funding terrorism, and stops trying to pursue a nuclear weapon.
Okay, here's what's funny about all of the lies he just said. Iran is more in compliance with the international order and international law than Israel, number one. Hello. And number two, the United States, which just did an illegal act of aggression on a sovereign nation that was party to the Non-Proliferation Treaty, that was subject to IAEA, the International Atomic Energy Agency's inspections. They were already party to that. You know who's not? Israel. Israel is not party to that. You know who just violated international law? The United States. So again, this is there's no escaping this. It does remind me of Iraq, but again, it's like the gaslighting is so much quicker, and also because again, in 2003, it's like there were no options. It was very clear that they wanted to go to war. It was very clear that no matter what Saddam Hussein said, what they did, what the international community said, it was like, we're just going to do this. The only difference is you had Colin Powell out there, trotted outside, out of the United Nations in front of them saying like, hey, let's talk about anthrax. You know what I mean? And he was like trotted out to get the UN on board. That's the difference. And look, these are the technicalities that I would argue are technicalities and not actually political positions that we need to be fighting for. Because at the end of the day, even if you went before the UN and you strong-armed everyone to think that you should attack Iran, that's still a fucked up war, just like it was in Iraq. Anyway, so that is JD Vance saying that, this is not about regime change. It's just two equally bad faith paths that I've set up just now in front of the Iranian regime. And here's Pete Hegseth arguing the exact same thing. This is not about regime change. This is about getting those nuclear facilities, which, again, they say have weapons capabilities, but do not.
Yeah. So is regime change off the table, Mr. Secretary? And to the chairman, you said the battle damage assessment is still ongoing. But do you believe that some nuclear capability in Iran remains?
This mission was not and has not been about regime change. The president authorized a precision operation to neutralize the threats to our national interests posed by the Iranian nuclear program and the collective self.
Oh, I just stopped that. Sorry. Here we go.
The threats to our national interests posed by the Iranian nuclear program and the collective self-defense of our troops and our ally Israel.
Yeah. Our the self-defense of our troops, who I've just put in harm's way, and who just had a barrage of missiles fired at them in Qatar. So definitely thinking about them. Also, let's be real, our troops that have been under fire since what? Since the United States all-out support of a genocidal slaughter of the Palestinian people. U.S. troops and U.S. trade have already been the subjects of retaliatory attacks from Iran, from the Houthis, from other groups. So, like, this is literally all just blowback. And so, miss me with this fake care, like, oh, all of a sudden, like, we're thinking about our troops. No, you're not. We know you're not. Just to say, like, well, I don't know who is talking about regime change. Nobody's talking about regime change. Who's talking about regime change? No. Who's talking about regime change other than the president? Okay, but like, he's just a president, like he does nothing. Here's Donald Trump on Truth Social. It's not politically correct to use the term regime change, but if the current Iranian regime is unable to make Iran great again, why wouldn't there be a regime change? And get ready for this, please. MIGA. Make Iran great again. And that's just funny. Like that actually is funny. Like, I'm just gonna give it to him. Like, that's fucking hilarious that he's saying, he has put the phrase MIGA out into the universe, people, and we can't unsee it or hear it. And if you speak Spanish, MIGA means crumb, which is even funnier, to be like, oh yeah, Iran's gonna be crumb again. Make it a fucking crumb. And by the way, I'm just MIGA, man. MIGA is your guy, you know what I'm saying? And MIGA, and everyone is also saying, like, MIGA sounds like make Israel great again, right? Which is kind of a play on words, considering Greater Israel is the Israeli government and the extremists, the religious zealots within Israeli society and within Israeli parliament, the Knesset, that do want to expand Israel. And this is part of why they so deeply hate Iran, because they cannot imagine that there is a country that has an equal amount of influence in the region, that is, doesn't have nuclear weapons, but is a huge cultural force, is an economic force. 92 million people live there, right? They hate that. That is an affront to them trying to control the region, right? This is their Greater Israel plans. But MIGA has been out there. And can I just also say that this whole operation, this attack on Iranian nuclear facilities, was named Operation Midnight Hammer. And yeah, I was like, who came up with that title? Who came up with that? And you're like, it was the drunk. Leave it to a drunk to be like, hey, Operation Midnight Hammered. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was Pete Hegseth. It was Petey. And again, no disrespect to alcoholics. Everyone needs help sometimes. But, like, that's just him. Midnight Hammered, bro. Hell yeah. Fired off on the Signal. How much did they workshop that? How much did they workshop that on the Signal chat? Which, once again, they're still using Signal chats. There's been we just blew past Signalgate. Let's talk about what the Iranian regime is saying. And look, government. If we're gonna say regime, we're gonna say Trump regime. Let's not buy into this BS.
The Islamic Republic of Iran condemns, in the strongest terms, the United States' brutal military aggression against Iran's peaceful nuclear facilities. It is an outrageous, grave, and unprecedented violation of the fundamental principles of the Charter of the United Nations and international law. The warmongering and lawless administration in Washington is solely and fully responsible for the dangerous consequences and far-reaching implications of its act of aggression. While President Trump was elected on a platform of putting an end to America's costly involvement of forever wars in our part of the world, he has betrayed not only Iran by abusing our commitment to diplomacy, but also deceived his own voters by submitting to the wishes of a wanted war criminal who has grown accustomed to exploiting the lives and wealth of American citizens to further the Israeli regime's objectives.
Ooh, baby, we are in a game of regime change chicken, because, like, I'm just going to throw it out right now. I think the U.S. will have a new regime before Iran. We're going to take bets. But I think that the U.S. will have a new regime before Iran. This is what I hope. But this was the foreign minister basically like, he's playing all y'all. He's playing with your money. He is playing with his, so-called anti-war stance, which I'm going to talk about, put a pin in that. But he's kind of calling us in/out, right? This is his version of, this is not a fight I'm having with the American people. Even though they didn't attack us, they didn't even attack Israel first. Remember, all of this stems from Israel attacking Iran this time around. Okay, killing nuclear scientists this time around. They've been killing nuclear scientists before, and they were the ones who killed Ismail Haniyeh in Syria and striking Lebanon. Sorry, not in Syria. In the Syrian embassy in Tehran, in Iran. Like, they've already attacked Iranian soil many times over. Many different ways. This is just the most recent and the most escalated form of it. And so here's the foreign minister of Iran saying, look, he's a wanted war criminal. You're talking about international law. Netanyahu's a wanted war criminal. And that's who was the last person to whisper in Trump's ear on Friday night, hey, babe, you up? And we all saw what happened.
We're now calculating the damages. And as I said, the damages are not only for our nuclear facilities. The damages are for the United Nations Charter. It was not only Iran's facilities which was bombed, it was also the United Nations Charter. It was also non-proliferation regime and NPT, which was bombed last night by Americans. And it was the rule of law and international law which was bombed. So now we have to see how much room is left for diplomacy, and we will decide.
So there you have it from the Iranian government. They're going to assess the damage. And of course, we know they attacked the U.S. military base in Qatar earlier this morning. And the real, the question is, will the United States retaliate for that action? It seems like maybe they're not going to do that. Truthing out. Iran has officially responded to our obliteration of their nuclear facilities with a very weak response, which we expected and have very effectively countered. There have been 14 missiles fired, 13 were knocked down, and one was set free because it was headed to a non-threatening direction. I love that someone explained that a missile was set free, and he was like, it went to go live its life on a farm upstate. I'm pleased to report that no Americans were harmed and hardly any damage was done. Most importantly, they've gotten it all out of their system, and there will hopefully be no further hate, capital H-A-T-E. I want to thank Iran for giving us early notice, which made it possible for no lives to be lost and nobody to be injured. Perhaps Iran can now proceed to peace and harmony in the region, and I will enthusiastically encourage Israel to do the same. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Please proceed with the 10 other wars we have ensuing, the ones on the people of Los Angeles, hello, the ones on the disabled, the ones on the sick, the ones on the ones on the children and the women in this country, the ones on the seniors and anyone receiving Social Security and Medicare, the ones on our national parks. Please proceed with the normal destruction of the government. I'd like to thank the respected Emir of Qatar for all he's done in seeking peace in the region, i.e., please don't kick us out. That'd be awkward. Congratulations, world. It's time for peace. Now, if you thought that mission accomplished, George W., Banner, like that wasn't cringy enough, which we didn't even have really the word cringe, but I do feel like maybe the Trump administration, the Bush administration helped really develop that word cringe. Congratulations, world. It's time for peace is perhaps the saddest claim of victory since mission. This is his mission accomplished. Done with his dumbass avatar with his fucking face with the American flag on it, looking like he's, tailgating at some fucking football game. Like, this is so pathetic. And here's the reality of all of it, right? This doesn't stop. You know why? Because Iran will certainly have a nuke. That is what all of the experts have been saying. That is what Trita Parsi, who's been on my show, have said. That Iran most certainly now will be developing a nuclear weapon in order to defend themselves. Because if this is what it looks like when they don't have a nuclear weapon, and this is the kind of thanks they get for trying to enter into negotiations, for having complied with the joint resolution of non-proliferation and the NPT and whatever. No, they are most certainly, and the hardliners in Iran, which we all have to remember, just like we have hardliners in the United States, they have hardliners there. They will most certainly try to get a nuke because it seems to be the only way you can get left the fuck alone. It's the only way. I don't advocate for it. I'm not saying it's good. I think we should all disarm. Disarm now, especially the United States, right? But that is what we are pushing Iran to do. That is the entire lesson, not just for Iran, but for nations around the world is, oh, shoot, we got to get a nuke because motherfuckers are crazy. They are crazy. Now, the real thing is the mutually assured destruction method assumes you don't have a man who has, again, just like the mushiest brain and the most Islamophobic and hateful cabinet possible, backed by a whole establishment of neocons, of a media ecosystem that loves to beat the drums for war, of your David Frums, right, out there going like, I can't wait to tour, I think, was it him? Can't wait to tour a free Iran. Shut up. Right? Anderson Cooper's now in the cutoff sleeves. He's going for it, right? They're like, yes, is it wartime? CNN's like, wartime. They're all for, they're interviewing all the generals. They just like CNN has all the generals in a closet. And they're like, what? Huh? Another Middle East intervention. Let's go. Right? The same way they have them, they have like the MAGA ladies. You know how there's always CNN MAGA ladies who are like, what? Oh, I have to my opinions. Well, yeah, I think Trump is just whatever he does is good, and you should just lock them all up. Where's my money? Like that's CNN has the MAGA ladies, and CNN has their war colonels, former generals who are pro-war, and not all the generals who are against war, or the veterans. Heaven forbid we interview a vet. Heaven forbid the first person we talk to whenever we talk about another intervention in the Middle East would be a vet. Maybe just ask them how it was. Ask a vet who was sent to Iraq, who saw his friends murdered before his very eyes and blown to bits. Ask someone who's disabled. Ask someone who fought a war on behalf of Dick Cheney and Halliburton. What's going on, Frantifa? If you haven't already, subscribe to this channel right now. Hit that button. And also, you can become a patron and support the show every single week. Get access to bonus episodes and exclusive merchandise. Patreon.com/Bitchuation Room. Do it.